This question is from Brian. No last name, just Brian. Does signing Jabrill Peppers affect getting a comp pick for J.C. Jackson, or was he a no-comp street free agent? That's the first question. I have a follow-up, but let's address the first question, Greg.
First question is, he was an unrestricted free agent. It does not affect J.C. Jackson. I don't even think it affects – he's getting paid so little. And you also have to remember that playing time the following year also factors into the equation. And so, no, it doesn't affect anything. I think the Patriots – and by the way, the timing, just to let people know, it's the Monday after the draft. Once the Monday after the draft is over, now you can sign any free agent you want, and they don't factor into the compensatory pick formula.
All right, follow-up question, and this is, I think, what more people want to hear about anyway. Brian asks, am I too optimistic to think that if Peppers is healthy, he's the one addition that can make a real difference in 2022?
It's an interesting question. I said, look, I'll start here. And the big caveat is if he's healthy. I'll say this about Jabrill Peppers. He's a talented guy. He went in the first round by the Browns. He was one of Joe Judge's favorite players with the Giants. That tells me he's coachable. He's always been known as a leader. He could play multiple positions. I was just looking up his size. It says he's 5'11", 215. That was probably coming out of college. He's a guy who, coming out of college, people weren't really sure where he was going to play. Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? I think, look, number one, he has to get healthy. He tore his ACL in week 6 last year. Let's be realistic about what he's going to do. I would not be surprised, and I'm sure there's reports that say, he's going to be ready for camp. I don't really believe that. I think that he's more of a candidate to start the season on the PUP list. You pretty much got to go a full season or a full year, and that would bring him about to the midpoint of the season. I do think he has the ability. He's good backup in case there is an injury at safety, Adrian Phillips or Kyle Duggar especially. But I do think ultimately, he slots in as a sub-package linebacker for this team and, gives them the ability to be a lot more versatile. He can help cover guys out of the backfield, tight ends, things like that. Stick his nose in the running game. Yes, healthy, and it's a big if. Yes, Jabrill Peppers can help this team. I just wouldn't, bank on anything. He's another tool in the tool chest, and we'll have to see how things play out.
I like it a lot. I do like this signing a lot. If he's healthy, it's a caveat. If he's healthy. And ACLs, look, I don't want to write off ACLs, but we know ACL injuries are not as crushing as they were 5-10 years ago. You can come back 6 to 9 months later and feel pretty good. You're not going to look like the same guy immediately, right? But you never know how the human body is going to react. Everybody is different. Generally speaking, ACLs are not as bad as they were a decade ago. But the reason why I like this signing, a couple of things, he brings so much versatility. He can cover backs out of the backfield, as you mentioned. You're not going to get crushed by wheel routes if Pepper's out there, which is great. And I think Mack Wilson has that kind of same ability as well. He can cover tight ends, as you mentioned. He can also cover some wide receivers. And I think, when you look at trying to improve the athleticism of this football team, he does that. He is an outstanding, again, if the ACL heals fine and all that, he's an outstanding athlete. Nobody would question his athleticism. And he also is a really, he's got a high ceiling as a punt returner, which, without Gunnar Olszewski, I wouldn't be surprised if Peppers plays some special teams and is at least in part your punt returner. I got a bigger question for you, and we just got a couple minutes left here. I know we've gone long, but I couldn't care less. This is a fun conversation. When I look at this secondary and I look at what the Patriots are doing, we always talked about like the amoeba kind of front seven and how they would shuffle guys in the front seven and move guys around on the. Is this just a crazy theory of mine outside the box, Nick? Settle down a little bit.
Hit me with it.
But are we seeing a little bit of like an amoeba kind of style in the second and third levels now, where like you are putting a bunch of pieces that can move around, and you never really know when you're the offense. Like everything right now in the NFL is pre-snap movement, right? misdirection. Is Belichick setting this team up to be able to just almost like in basketball terms, switch, like the Celtics switch everybody? Is Belichick setting this up where he just goes, look, we got a couple of boundary cornerbacks who can do a decent job. They're not great, but if Malcolm Butler looks like he did in 20, he's fine. Jalen Mills is a 2, he's fine. But we're going to get a bunch of pieces. We've got Peppers, we've got McCourty, we've got Duggar, we've got Mills, we've got these guys that can play. Phillips is another one. Guys that can play in different spots. They can pick up a dude on the boundary. They can pick up a slot. They can pick up a tight end. They can pick up a running back. And maybe the idea of this is to play a little bit more zone coverage, but to be able to change on the fly with different versatile pieces versus saying J.C. Jackson 1, Jalen Mills 2, or 2 safeties, and more or less have like an amoeba-like second and third level, and you can throw Mac Wilson in there as well. Am I crazy for thinking that's a possible idea that Belichick has right now?
Boy, somebody's brain's been overheating this offseason with the Patriots' lack of activity. Look, I'm not gonna shoot that down, Nick. I think what you're seeing is the Patriots at the base, they realized that they had a humongous speed deficiency last year, and they're willing to get a little bit smaller and faster. That's what I see. I do think that they're going to need to be able to – you can do that, but you got to be able to defend the run first better than they did last season. To me, that's why if I'm the Patriots, I'm figuring out a way to get a guy like Jordan Davis from Georgia, and you put him next to Barmore. You basically put him in the middle of the line. Your run defense improves, and he can be the sort of the solo guy in the middle and even in sub. And don't really worry about that. But they're also going to have to. They're going to have to be a better. They're going to have to get more pass rush. We'll see. Will they get a guy like Trey Flowers that one of the guys that we said is still sort of out there. They're going to have to be better with the pass rush. They're still going to have to cover, but I do think right now the only thing I'm willing to say is they're trying to get smaller and quicker, but that's a tight window to go. We've seen other defenses like that. Like I would say the Cardinals defense has been like that, where they've been a lot, but they also had like Chandler Jones and other guys, Calais Campbell getting pressure or stuffing the run. So that's been successful. For the Patriots, the way they like to play, to go this route, to me, it's very interesting, and we'll have to see what other pieces they add to sort of make that a reality come the season.
Outside of the draft, 3 guys I'd be looking at. You mentioned a couple of them, but Calais Campbell is still out there.
Yep.
Lakeem Hicks is still out there.
Yep.
And Trey Flowers is still out there. If you could get 2 of those 3 guys, I feel pretty good about that defensive front. If you can get 2 of those, 3 of those guys. And if you get one of them, if you get Flowers, but you draft a Wyatt or a Davis, as you mentioned, Greg, then, you can kind of see this thing be put together a little bit.